The silent treatment was a regular occurrence at Kristen's house, where problems piled up and the resentment was thick. Then, during a tense conversation, Kristen said just 6 words that shocked her husband, who then shocked her by giving her a hug. Now the Cold Wars have ended and they dance together in the kitchen. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Kristen, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here today.
Well, I always like to hear about what was going on in the bad old days. So what can you tell us?
Well, I'll just kind of start at the beginning. We met each other in high school. So we were high school sweethearts and we had a lot of fun together. He was on the basketball team. I went to all his games and it was like the loudest person in the crowd cheering for him. And yeah, we just had a lot of fun. And so a year after I graduated, he asked me to marry him. I was 19 when we got married, and I just thought, yeah, we had so much fun dating. It's just going to be even better once we get married. And it wasn't quite that way. We soon found out that we had like 0 communication skills. And yeah, we just, like I had written in my little bio for you, we both grew up in houses where one parent might explode in anger and everyone else would just kind of pretend nothing happened. Everyone would avoid each other for a while. You just kind of be quiet and pretend nothing happened and just, I don't know, after a couple of days, just kind of go on your way and hope it was over. And so we skipped the exploding in anger part. So we just kind of did the quiet, avoid the problem part. And yeah, the resentments just piled up higher and higher, kind of under the rug. We were sweeping them under, and we just repeated that over and over because we didn't have any other tools. So it was just a repeated pattern.
So it sounds like the pile under the rug was like bigger than you were after a while, like that.
Yeah. There were so many things sitting there, and you always just felt kind of like you're walking around. You didn't want to bump into the rug because one of those things might come spilling out. So it just got to be really constricted. And I was just always really careful to try and say the right thing, but that really didn't work either. And it really hurt the intimacy too. So
yeah, it sounds very tense and stressful. And like you're basically getting silent treatment a lot of the time.
Yeah. We were probably giving each other the silent treatment. I see more now out of just didn't know what else to do because we didn't know how to confront problems directly or talk about it really in a constructive way. So it was just our coping mechanism. I don't think either of us woke up in the morning and thought, oh, I'm going to give him the silent treatment to really get him back. It was just like, I don't know what to do here. So that was just like, in order not to make it worse, it felt like, well, the next best plan was just don't say anything. Hope it goes away. But that's a really bad plan for marriage because, you want to have intimacy and closeness. And that was pretty much had the opposite effect of what I was hoping for.
What kinds of things were you guys like fighting about? I guess I'll say fighting. That's not quite the right word, huh? That's not what was going on. But like quieting about, I guess, silent treatment.
Quieting about. Yeah, I guess, like right after we got married, he was very driven to provide. And so he worked 6 days a week and I was working full time too. And so I just thought when we did have, a little bit of time together, I thought I just had these expectations. We would do things together, on the weekends or in the evenings or whatever. And just didn't really go that way. And the more I focused on that, the less I got yet because I was resentful and just pushing him away with my anger about, I couldn't see that he was working hard to provide. All I could see was, well, we're not spending hardly any time together. And I thought, I don't know, you get married to be with a certain person and how come I'm spending so much time alone? It was confusing. And, why is it going like this?
Yeah.
yeah, as a newly married woman, I had these expectations that, when the weekend came or we had evenings together, that we would do something fun. And he was just working a lot. And I found myself alone a lot, just and very confused. Like, well, you get married to be with this person, and why am I spending so much time alone? So it was hurtful and yeah, just really discouraging. And so I would bring that up to him. And of course that would repel him even more. So I would get even less time with him. So yeah, without the skills, I just did a lot of floundering around.
Of course, you didn't know that was repelling him. You thought that was going to help, that he would want to spend more time with you if you told him.
Right. I just thought if I could just let him know, and then he would be, of course, we'll go do this thing this weekend. But yeah,
that didn't happen.
He had these goals he wanted to meet, and it was important to him to provide for us. So
you were asking him to work a little bit less too, it sounds like. Is that right?
Yeah, there were some times when I thought, we were doing okay. We're both working full time, and maybe we could take some time off here and there and do this or that. But yeah.
Yeah. It is so discouraging as a newlywed to be like, hey, why did I get married to be alone so much of the time? Right.
Yeah. I mean, I see now that I just didn't even know I had my own paper at all. I just thought you got married, you did things together. That was how it worked, So that was how I saw it done. And yeah, if only I'd known then that I had my own paper and I could go do fun things on my own, and probably, it would have been so much more appealing to be busy doing fun stuff and say, hey, do you want to join me? Instead of just, I don't like this.
Yeah. Well, it sounds rough. What else did you guys argue about or have to?
Yeah, there was a lot of conflict over how to handle like holidays. Do we go to his family? Do we go to mine? I sometimes had ideas altogether different than that, even that we could just go do things with the two of us. So we had a lot of conflict there, things like that.
Gotcha. And was there ever a point where you just thought this just isn't working? Like, did you guys ever go to marriage counseling to try to work this out?
We in the first few years we did go to a little bit of marriage counseling. I can't say it was super helpful. We did try that a little bit, but I can't remember it being really changing anything much. So yeah. So we did that, and we're busy working, and we just kind of, I guess a few years later we started having kids, and so I started focusing on that. We started having kids. I did all the things. I took them to the orthodontist, and I quit my job to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I just really poured a lot of my energy into the kids. So that probably helped maybe take a little bit of focus off of him, because I was so busy we had 3 kids, and yeah, all the things that go along with that.
So did having kids actually kind of help your marriage in a way?
Yeah, I mean, the problems were still there with our not being able to communicate, but that really was my focus, especially being a stay-at-home mom. And so, yeah, he did his work thing, and I did the taking care of the kids thing. And yeah, it's not like our whole marriage. We had a lot of good times too, and a lot of, our marriage wasn't like all bad or anything, but we just always had this underlying problem of, when there's real things to work through, we just had no tools whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I just keep bumping it up against that.
Yeah. It's enormously painful. I remember. And what was there ever a moment when you thought, well, I really can't go on like this?
Maybe later. And probably that came later when the kids started moving out of the house, because I had spent so many years raising kids, focusing on what they needed. I had started a business from home that grew from like just kind of a side hobby thing into this full-time business. I started, and I didn't know how to say no to anything, so I just kept saying yes to all this business. And I said yes to requests for help at church, and just said yes to all these things. Over the years, probably about 10 years ago, my dad passed away unexpectedly. And so like kind of sorting out his estate kind of fell onto me, and I did a lot of work with that. There was just all these things that kept piling up, and I didn't know how to, like, self-care. I had no idea. That was a thing. It sounds so silly now that why wouldn't you know to go do something fun? But that was foreign. I just thought it was my job to take care of everybody else, manage the house, monitor the checkbook. Before we got married, I got a degree in accounting. So I thought I was the one to kind of figure out what was going on in the checkbook, all those kind of things. So just all those kept piling up. And then, with the communication problems and everything, as a kid started moving out, I think I started to focus more on him. Like, what? Because I still just didn't feel happy. I don't know. I just always felt like something was missing. So I just thought, well, we're married, we're together. You have to have, if you don't have this good relationship, how's it going to work? And so I saw him as the problem, and that just never got me anywhere. But I did go to some individual counseling at that time, and just to, like, I don't know, I didn't know what else to do. So, but I went for a while, and I just, I went, and I could kind of complain, or I guess air out what was going on for me. But I realized after a while, I just never left with any real actionable items, I guess, to change or do different. So I quit going because it just felt so, like, what's the point? I don't know. I just go, I get all emotional, and I come back, and I'm like, it's still just the same thing here at home, and nothing's different. So I quit going. So I think right about then, I just really felt really discouraged, and like, I don't know what else to do. I know something's not right. I know things could be better, but I can't figure it out. And I know I wrote in my bio for you that I'm a Christian, and so I really meant my vows. And so divorce wasn't an option for me, because I meant it when I said, for better or for worse, we were going to be together. But it was just, I would hear, reading the Bible, like, there's a verse that says, husbands, love your wives, wives, respect your husbands. Like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I thought I was doing it. I'm like, yeah, I'm respectful. I wash his clothes. I make his food. I don't yell at him. Of course, I'm respectful. And I thought I was doing things right. And, like, why can't he, I'm a learner. I like to learn. So I read books, and I listen to podcasts and things. And I would read all these books, and all of them would say, you both have to work on the relationship. This is what the woman needs to do, and this is what the man needs to do. And I would always think, well, I'm trying to do these things, but he doesn't want to read this book. He's not interested in that. So it felt so frustrating, because I thought, well, if he's not going to do anything, how can we fix this? Just once in a while, I would recommend, like, hey, let's read this book together. And he would begrudgingly, he was gracious and sort of did it, but it didn't really change a whole lot. And I see now, like, that really wasn't going to be helpful, but I didn't know what else to do. And so so it was probably about the time, it was a couple years ago, when we're really getting close to being empty nesters. I just really felt just really stuck. I just thought, I don't know what else to do. I've read the books. I've tried to do these things, and I don't know. I don't know what else to do.
It sounds so lonely and heavy. And I remember feeling the same way. So you're kind of at a loss, but yet divorce is not something you're considering. So that just means you are going to just be stuck here, like, forever. Is that right?
Yeah, it kind of at that moment when I was really focused on, I just saw him as a problem. Yeah, I just felt stuck. Like I knew I didn't want to leave, but, and I love him. We love each other, but I guess when I think about it now, it feels like when we got married, somebody handed us like this big, like they dumped out a dump truck with all the materials to make a marriage, but there was no manual or instructions or anything. And I'm always like trying to put things together, but it's never right. And I just knew there was something missing, but I could never figure it out. It was so frustrating.
Okay,
And
I love
yeah,
this metaphor of it's almost like you went shopping at IKEA or something and got all the parts for like I don't know whatever the most complicated thing at IKEA is, and there was no manual to put it together, and you just spent all these years trying to put it together, and it wasn't. So, but I hear this theme of like deep down you knew it could be better. There's a better way. There's something missing, but
mhm.
it's not really it's this, but it's not hopeless. I kind of hear that you always had hope, even though you also were suffering and lonely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think, yeah, it was probably around like at around age 40 that I was like depleted in almost every way. I just physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted, spiritually exhausted. Yeah, I mentioned that my dad passed away. I just, no self care. So yeah, I didn't know I had my own paper. I saw other people, it seemed so easy. Like they would maybe have a little argument or something and they would just kind of laugh about it and go on their way. And I thought, oh man, if that happened to us, we would not talk to each other for a week. So I saw other people doing that, like, oh, it could be like that, but I don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were also seeing maybe the outside of other people's relationships too. But I think also kind of saying you knew there was a unique the coping mechanism you guys had was just felt especially hard. It sounds like.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. All right. Well, it sounds, and this was, so that was around 10 years ago, you said, I think that this period happened. And this was a kind of,
Yeah. It was about 10 years ago that my dad passed away. And then yeah, more recently, the kids had started moving out and just kept focusing on what seemed to be wrong. And yeah, just getting more stuck all the time. And it really affected me mentally too. I know I would go to the doctor, just, talk to him about that. And the doctor would say, well, maybe you need to try antidepressants. And that didn't feel like the right fit for me. I didn't go that route, but I wondered, maybe that's the problem. Maybe I just need medication or something. Maybe I'm just, I don't know. But when what I know now is that I was so focused on what was wrong and, seeing what you focus on grows. That I learned that from your book. That's so powerful. It just, when you focus on what's wrong, it just grows and grows and grows. And it just built up into this big, I added to that pile under the rug, I guess, of actual things that happened. And now it was just imagined things that happened. It just kept piling up.
oh gosh. And so now your doctor's basically saying also you're depressed. So on top of everything else, it feels pretty bad.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It
Mhm.
sounds oppressive. So what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I just felt really heavy and tired. Like I was just so tired of trying to figure it out. And, um, yeah, just really, really stuck. And so about this time, two things happened that really made a big difference. Um, one of them is I found your book, but before that, I worked with a coach who was a man, and he really helped me to understand how men think. And so I got this amazing perspective from him that, like, yeah, women and men are equal in value, but they're like wildly different in the way they think and process things. And the words I say, he hears them totally different. And it like started to crack open the door of what was going on. I started to understand like my husband better, and I started to understand myself better. Like I saw that I wasn't broken. My husband wasn't broken. We just were lacking these tools and understanding. Like, I think he thought I should just be able to, in a non-emotional way, just tell him if I have an issue, I should just come to him with no emotions and tell him, in facts what's wrong. And then we could settle it like a business meeting or something. And I thought he should be able to, understand my emotions and just be able to relate to me like my girlfriend did. And obviously that's not how we're wired. So that's why we just kept bumping up into this. I was saying these things that came across to him as disrespectful, but I didn't know it. And he was saying things to me that were hurtful, but he didn't know it. So working with this coach, that was a guy, that was a huge part of like the beginning. And so I got this perspective from him. And shortly after that, I found your book. And I found the community of women. And those two things together where I learned from this coach, and then I learned from you in your book. It was like the two things coming together. It was, I don't know, it was like my whole life I had been walking around in the dark, bumping into things all the time. Everywhere I turned, I would try things. It felt like I'd bump into something in the dark and wonder what happened. I don't know. And then I read your book. I actually listened to it on Audible at first. I was in the car and I was like, she says you can change your man without his conscious effort, or, I'm not quite sure how you, put it, but basically you're just focusing on you. And I'm like, is that really possible? Because all these other books said you both have to be working on it, So I listened to your book and I find this community of women and I'm like, oh, so instead of walking around in the dark, now I feel like when I read your book, it felt like the light switch got flipped on and I could see clearly like, oh, it all makes so much sense. No wonder I was kept, messing up and kind of putting my foot in my mouth all the time and just all the things. Behind me, I have this little thing on the wall with the sun shining. That is it represents like the light coming in because I don't know, reading your book has just been so amazing. I don't know how. I have notes here to remember what I wanted to talk about, but there's no way I could really put it all into words. What has all changed for me since reading your book and putting the intimacy skills into practice?
Wow. It sounds like it was a revelation. Like, it sounds so exciting. What did you first start doing differently than what you had been doing?
One of the first things that I used was I hear you. I think you kind of mentioned it in the beginning there a little bit, but like most of the time we would have Cold Wars, but right before I found your book and stuff, I guess around that time we had gotten into a big argument. And so he's standing across the room and we're yelling at each other, which is very unusual because we really don't yell, but we were so frustrated. And my old pattern was, I don't know. I guess we're both kind of like, we like to feel like we've explained ourselves well, to have justice or something. I don't know how you would explain that. So when he would bring up something that was wrong, I always wanted to like explain myself, well, here's why I did what I did. That's why it should make sense. I just thought, well, I don't know, that just made sense of what you should do, but I was so defensive. I could never hear what he's saying because I was so quick to defend what I was doing. So we were yelling at each other. He's across the room and he's a very tall guy. So he's standing over there and he's yelling and I'm yelling back. And then finally I'm like, wait, I learned in Laura's book to use I hear you. So I stopped and he was yelling, and I stopped and I took a deep breath and I said, I hear you. You're right. I did do those things. And he's over across the room. I think he dropped like 2 inches in height. He got totally quiet with a confused look on his face. Surprised look. And he just was like, wow, thank you for listening. And we talked calmly about what had happened. I don't even remember the exact issue now. We talked calmly a little bit more. And then he said again, like, thank you for listening to me. He came over to give me a hug, which was really good because if he hadn't been doing that, I probably would have fell over because I was so surprised. And that's when I knew, like, these skills really work. And it just showed me how all these years I'd been so defensive and I was just standing in the way of him feeling heard. I don't know. I didn't know any other way. But when I saw, I don't have to defend myself. I can listen to what he has to say. The argument is over. That opened up the door for him after that to hear what I had to say. It was magical and amazing.
Wow. I love this story. And so when you say like he shrunk a couple inches, like you were standing across from like a big bear or the Incredible Hulk or something like that, right? That was kind of like daunting. And you were able to diffuse the whole argument. This was yelling going on, and you put a stop to it with just like, I remember reading it. I thought that's only 6 words. It's like, I hear you and you're right, or something like that was what, and then you said, I did do those things. So you were also incredibly accountable. Were you, wasn't it hard? Like part of you, it's just human. Like you're describing how you both wanted to be heard. And I think every human wants to be heard. Wasn't it hard to just let go of like sharing your point of view?
Yeah, maybe that first time, but I see how powerful it is to be able to listen and hear the other person. Because like I said, that opens up the door for them to be able to hear you. Somebody's got to go first. And yeah, it just gave me the ability to give it a try, because I love your book so much, because it's just, when I was listening to you read your book, I loved it was in your own voice. So when you're telling all these stories, they were so relatable. I know other women have said this too, that it felt like you must have been wiretapping my living room, because all these stories you were telling, I thought, yeah, I've been doing those things too. And I think your accountability in the book helped me to be able to take accountability too, and to see what I could change about myself. And yeah, your book is, I have read so many marriage books, and podcasts. I've read so many. A lot of them have good ideas, but when I would get done reading them, I never quite knew how to put it into practice. But your book is so concise. You have it. Yeah, you have 6 intimacy skills. You can just list them off in a minute with all the things, and then you explain very clearly how to use them. They're not complicated. They're just short phrases or ways of being. And it's all about empowering me as a woman. I don't need to focus on my husband. I don't need to try and convince him to do something different. I don't need to here, you need to read this book too. I don't need to do anything with him. It's all about changing me. And that's what I love. That's why I knew that your book was different. It was just focused on me as a woman and just figuring out, who I want to be, how I want to show up. Like when, I've gotten coaching, obviously, and I'm in the coach certification program, which has also been amazing. So if any woman out there is thinking about doing that, I would 100%, recommend that. But getting coaching and having somebody ask, like, what is your vision for your marriage? Or, what's your vision for how you want to show up? Like, nobody has ever asked me that before. I never even thought about that. So that's just been an amazing way to focus on what I want instead of just ruminating over what went wrong and how could he have done that? And I need to fix this. It's just such a freer way of being. There's so many more possibilities when you're thinking about the future and what can I do different than focusing on what's wrong.
I love that. Well, I also just hear your enormous courage. I hear how thrilling it was to feel like you had the exact phrases and the steps that you needed to mix it up. But I think, I just know it takes a lot of courage to also actually even say those words when you're getting yelled at, to be able to kind of drop your agenda and just say, I hear you and you're right. And I did those things it's very humble. It's very accountable. And you got to be brave to do that. So, I really love that story. So, and I really hear also that just changing your focus, like instead of thinking about what's going wrong, thinking about what your vision is for your marriage. So how do you use that exactly? Like, let's say something does go wrong, because things still go wrong at your house, I presume, like they do sometimes at mine. How do you use that to kind of get back to where you want to be?
Yeah, my husband likes to joke around. He can sometimes take it a little too far. And in the past, that would be hurtful, and I would just really get bothered by that. And I would take it the wrong way. And yeah, I started another Cold War, So now I can just really see, like, the idea in your book, what's his heart message behind what he's saying, and just I can let those things go. I know that he's never waking up in the morning thinking, I wonder how I can hurt my wife. He just likes to joke around. And then the idea of taking stock of, like, how do I feel and what do I want, that completely foreign concept. I had no idea. When things were building up in the bad old days and I was involved in church and all these things, people would come to me with requests like, will you be on this thing at church? Will you volunteer for this? And I would pretty much always say yes, but I was torn because I felt like if I say yes, I'm going to feel regret. And if I say no, I'm going to feel guilt. So I'd have this, I don't know what to do, because I wasn't factoring in, like, well, how do I feel about this project, or what do I want, or what am I capable of giving right now? That would have been so much helpful back then, when I was spending so much time saying yes to everybody. In your book, I learned, you could just say, I can't. When something comes up, somebody has a request for you that doesn't really fit in. At that time, I'm raising 3 kids. I'm running a business at home. I'm doing all these things. I could have said to some of those people, I just can't right now. Thanks for asking, though. Be like, now I know. Something like that came up recently where I'm a part of a group that, does some work for charity and stuff. And so they asked me to be a part of once a year they do like a quilt show. And my sister was coming to visit right at the same time. And I just knew I was going to overextend myself if I said yes. So I just sent a very short email and said, I'm sorry that I can't. My sister's coming to visit, maybe next year. And it was fine. They said, okay. And that was that. Like, I had no idea you could just do that, which probably sounds crazy to a lot of people. But yeah, if ever there was a unempowered wife, that was me before the skills. I think all of the 6 skills, I was doing the opposite. Wow. I wasn't able to receive. I think right around the time when we've had our first child, my husband gave me a Bose radio, which at that time was quite expensive, and it was something I wanted. And I just quit my job to be a stay-at-home mom, and I told him to take it back because I just said it was too much money. Oh, yeah. And then I regretted it because we did send it back. So he did buy me another one, but it was just never the same because I had rejected his gift. And I just really thought, I think I thought it would be more respect, or I thought respect was being frugal with your money. But actually, in that moment, he just wanted me to receive his gift. So,
Wow.
yeah. So these skills have just changed everything, not just my marriage. It's changed me as a person. I feel so much more confident. I feel so much lighter. I don't have to, I can take stock of what am I capable of giving if someone asks, and I can say no if I can't give at that time. I'm learning how to receive things. Yeah, like you mentioned with my husband joking around, I can just see it as bait and let it go on by, and I don't have to take it in, I can just let it go and not make anything more of it. So just all the things.
Wow. That's awesome. So it sounds like you've kind of put on new perspectives and even kind of looked back at your marriage history and seen some, like the Bose radio story that was long before you knew about the skills. But now, it sounds like you just have this new awareness about that you weren't just rejecting a radio, you were rejecting your husband's efforts to delight you, to love you, really. And it's something that's not how you are anymore. It sounds like now you're a good receiver.
Yeah, I'm definitely growing. I'm sure I have a lot of work to do, but yeah, I'm definitely growing in my ability to receive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this sounds great. So, I hear like all the skills, right? There's the receiving, there's choosing your faith instead of your fear, and there's the I hear you. And you spoke a little bit about what you thought respect was before. That being frugal, right, was part of respect, or and kind of like doing things for him, I think. So, how do you show your respect now? How is it different?
Yeah, when I read your book, I saw like, oh, I really wasn't being respectful much at all. I learned that a big part of respect is how you think about your husband. Are you expecting the best from him? Even the energy behind what you do shows respect. What the ways you're thinking about what he's doing, or just him as a person. Not micromanaging him, not, just really trusting his decisions. That, like when he was working so much at the beginning, I was so just focused on what I didn't like about that. I couldn't see anything positive about it, but it would have been so much more respectful to have said to him, well, thank you for providing so well for us. And that would have been so much more magnetic, instead of pushing him away by complaining about we don't get to spend time together. I'm alone all the time. So I think the energy behind what I do shows respect. And then trusting his decisions. One big incident that happened before I knew the skills was he wanted to make a big investment in a real estate purchase, which was a very, very large amount of money. And it was kind of around the time when I was really struggling with a lot of other things, and the fear just really took over. And since I did bookkeeping and all that stuff, I kind of managed putting this, checkbook stuff in the computer and all that. The fear I just drowned in fear. Not really that not like I didn't think we wouldn't pay for it, or that it would, but I just had all these like questions in my mind, like, well, how much will the payments be, and when will they be due, and what will the rest of the budget look like? And I would just lay there at night and just think about all these details. And anyway, my response to him caused a huge breakdown between the two of us. It was probably one of our worst moments. And that was another thing that just sort of got swept under the rug. He did go ahead with it, and I just still spent a lot of time mulling it over in fear. And I had no reason to. He's always been a really good provider. There's never been any reason to doubt that. I just focusing on that fear again. I didn't know, what you focus on grows. And I definitely grew the pain by just focusing on the details. Yeah. So after I found your book and I learned these skills, we had another situation just like this one where he came to me and said, there's this piece of land that I would like to buy, and yeah, it's going to cost this much. And he asked me what I thought, and I took a deep breath and I said, well, I don't really know what is a good decision. That's not really my area of expertise. And I said, I trust you to make a good decision on this. And I said, I know that you'll do the best to provide. Sorry. I know you'll do the best to provide for us. And which was true. Yeah, that is how I felt. And he just, again, he got really quiet. And later he told me that it was an auction event that he was going to go to and possibly buy this piece of land. But he said when he went to it, he thought about the whole thing so much more because he knew it was all his responsibility and that I trusted him. So,
oh my gosh. Amazing story, Kristen. Wow.
Yeah. And it felt so much lighter, and I didn't have to, I could just focus on how well he had provided in the past, and I didn't need to think about all the details because he was handling it like he has been for the last 30 years. I don't know. Like, what a waste of time to focus on what might go wrong when instead, you can be focusing on what's possible in the future.
Wow, that is so moving. So he felt the weight of the responsibility because you trusted him. I mean, were you scared inside though, like you had been on the previous real estate deal?
I think, well, of course, that old fear wanted to pop up, but I really had been putting the skills into action, and just like I knew, when I stopped to think about it, I got some coaching around the whole thing too, and I just saw I have lots of evidence that he's always provided well for us. We've always had enough money to, do what we need to do, and even more for taking the kids on vacation and just doing fun things. So there was really no real reason to have fear. So,
Wow.
the fear probably tried to rise up, but I just was like, no, we're not doing that.
It reminds me of that Ambrose Redmoon quote about how courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else is more important. And you felt it was important to trust your husband, to show him that respect. And what a powerful story that is. Yeah. Love that story.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you've become more courageous. You're a braver version of yourself.
Yeah. As I do all these things, I keep letting go of more fear every day. And I think in your book, you might have described it like before you knew all these things, you were treading water in the ocean with ankle weights on or something. And that's how I felt, before the skills. And every day as I stay on my own paper, choose faith over fear, and just like focus on what are my desires, all those things. Every day that I do that, I feel more like I'm floating with just lighter, just rising above all those fears and things. I'm not treading water anymore. It's so much different.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, completely different as a person.
Yeah, completely different as a person is exactly what I'm hearing. Like, that's right. Because, and this was, you started this to improve your marriage and stop having the quiet treatment, but it sounds like it's changed you, Kristen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The whole time I'd been all these years I've been focusing on, wanting to change our marriage, wanting to change him, but I just had no connection to myself. I didn't know desires is, in your book, one of the skills is, what are your desires? And that has been a big stretch for me. Being a Christian woman, all these skills have helped me understand my faith so much better, which was totally unexpected. You're not coming at it from a Christian perspective. It's just, that's my thing, but I'm taking along learning the skills, and I did not expect that at all. And for whatever reason, I don't know if they meant it that way or not, but the message I have heard a lot at church is, well, you shouldn't have desires, because if you take that too far, that's going to turn into an idol. And so I heard a lot, like, just kind of be happy with what you have. And there is I'm all for like living contented, and yes, but like not having any desires is such a bland and boring way to live. And when I read in the Bible that says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart, I'm like, wait, that says to me, I think you should have desires. And it actually, my personal opinion now, after learning all this and combining it with my faith, is that I believe that having desires and honoring them and voicing them is actually, I think God is happy about that, because we're all so unique. He's made each of us different. I love reading books. I love being out in the sunshine, having a cup of coffee. Somebody else might like to go water skiing or, mountain climbing or something. And I think it's actually honoring to God to celebrate those things and have those desires. And I just see them as, I guess I see them like you can have these desires. And I love how you describe it in the book. Like, you can have your desires, things that you love, you would like to see happen in the future, but you don't have to control when or if they even happen or how it's going to come to be. It's just a desire. And I kind of see it like a helium balloon just sort of floating up into the sky. And I'm letting go of all of I don't have to control if it's going to happen or when or anything. I could just enjoy thinking about that. And so it's been this amazing journey of not only understanding myself better, but understanding my faith better, because all these skills somehow seem to overlap with what I know to be true from the Bible. So, like, for instance, the skill of like relinquishing control is one of the skills. And, I've learned more and more to do that with my husband's decisions, to relinquish control, like with the money, the investment he wanted to make. So, there's sometimes as a wife, you might have like a little, I don't know if this is the right decision. But then if not, I can still trust him. And then I can look past him and relinquish control of that to God. And so like it's a whole nother layer of relinquishing control, which gives me so much, I don't know, I just feel so much freedom in that. Like I don't have to control everything. I spent so much time before trying to control everything, and it felt like the right thing to do at the time because, well, you don't want things to go wrong, right? And you want to minimize problems and things like that. But actually trying to control it just creates new problems, I think. And then you just end up feeling like living this constricted, just kind of tied up, fearful life. And the more that I let go and relinquish control to my husband and then to God, it's just, I don't know, I just can't explain how different it is. There's just things all the time that like, I don't have to control that. I can just see what's going to happen next. Like when we go on vacation, I used to, all the things, is our Uber going to get on time and be here? How many minutes will it take for the Uber to get here? Where do we need to wait for it? Will our flight be delayed? It's like 1,000 things, and I would be so uptight and kind of ruin it. And we went on a trip last winter. And then, so me knowing the skills, I'm like, my job here is to just sit back and have fun. And so I did. I didn't worry about any of the details if the flight was late or anything. And it was such a different experience. It was relaxing, and my husband took care of all the details because he's good at that, and we had lots of fun. For in the past, I would have been stressed out, and then he would have been stressed out because I was stressed out. So none of that happened.
It's awesome. I love it. So you sound like you're just a girl of fun and light, on vacation, having a good time, relaxing, being taken care of in a way that I guess it almost sounds like you weren't able to do in the past. You weren't capable of that level of relax and enjoyment before, and now you are. And I also love this metaphor you bring up about like trusting your husband, deepening your faith, and it being a metaphor for trusting God, and this kind of growing, like you've grown spiritually. It sounds like as part of being on this path to improve your marriage.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, which was totally unexpected. So I had no idea that would happen.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's amazing, inspiring too, and like that vacation sounds inspiring. It sounds wonderful, and so, and it gives us like a little slice of like a little picture of what your marriage is like now. But what is your marriage like now?
Yeah, so much different. There really isn't Cold Wars. There are no Cold Wars anymore.
No quiet treatment?
No, we're not. That's not really happening. Dad, I don't know. Things are just so much lighter. Where he likes to joke around, so we do a lot of that, and we have our inside jokes that we like to laugh about and just have fun. And it used to make me so cranky when he would spend like all Sunday afternoon watching football, and I would think, what, we both worked all week and now that's it, and so I would just sit there and get crabbier and crabbier that he's watching football. I'm like, oh, what, great, what am I going to do, because I'm not a football fan, but like now I'm like, that's his self-care, I'm going to go do self-care too. So I'm going to, just go do something fun. And then when football's over and I'm done with my thing, we can come back together and, watch some TV or do something fun. And I don't have to focus on what I'm not getting. And, one time a couple months ago, we were on vacation with a few other couples. And so we had gone to a restaurant, and when we were walking out in the parking lot, but the other couples were walking along with us, and he just grabbed me and swooped me backwards for a big kiss, like a Hallmark movie kiss kind of thing, in front of everybody. And somebody was like snapped a picture right then. So somewhere there's a picture of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, fine. I think now I know that something is really different here. Like that would have never happened in the bad old days. It was an amazing moment. And yeah, we've taken swing dance lessons, and sometimes after the meal in the evening, he'll put on some music and say, hey, do you want to dance? And we'll practice our dance moves. And neither of us are super pros or anything, but we just have a lot of fun, and it's silly. And yeah, so we're practicing up because we have 2 kids that are seriously dating someone, and I just want you to know that you've affected more than one generation, because our daughter, who is just about 20, she read the Surrendered Single book. And right after that, a really great guy asked her out, and they're in a really serious relationship, and she is learning all the skills. And so we're thinking we need to practice our dance moves because maybe there's going to be a wedding coming up. So it's just really exciting. Just to be able to talk with her about the skills. And now she's reading The Empowered Wife, and she's going to be so much more prepared than I was with, I had no tools starting out, and she's going to have this huge toolbox, and I'm just so excited.
It must feel so good to be able to give that to your daughter and to represent, like, this is what a good marriage looks like. You dance in the kitchen, you swing dance after supper, because and it's romantic, right? It sounds like your marriage is romantic. You're in love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Just last night, my husband, he has meetings in the evening sometimes, and with the board of directors he's on. So often he'll get back after I go to bed, but it was pretty late. He got done and he actually called me and he said, "Hey, if you're still awake, just stay up a little bit longer and I'll be home and I can give you a kiss before you go to bed." So I was like, "Of course, yes, I'm staying up for that." So just little things like that, that everything is so different. I can't, yeah. I'm so grateful to you for the book. Yeah, it's changed a lot.
that's amazing, Kristen. Yeah, congratulations on transforming your family. It's incredible. What's your tip for somebody who is having a lot of those cold wars and loneliness and feeling like he's just not giving her attention, and she wants what you have now, where she gets like swooped back for a big old kiss in front of your friends, and gets to go on vacation and feel so taken care of, and has to stay up a few more minutes so he can kiss you goodnight before you go to bed. What's your tip for her if she wants what you have?
Well, I would definitely tell her to read The Empowered Wife. That would be a good place to start because you can learn all the skills. And I'd say get to join the community of women that you've got going on online. That has been so helpful. I can't tell you how impactful being in that group has been. Just to hear other women's stories and if you're having a day when, things aren't going great for you, you can be like built up by somebody else's win that they're sharing, that something great has gone on in their marriage. And just, I guess, probably take your focus off your husband and start figuring out what it is that you need. Because once you start understanding that, all the other things start to fall into place. Yeah, because the only person you can control is you. Who knew? Like, you can't really control your husband anyway. It just ends up pushing him away. And so if you let go of that, it frees up all this time where you can start doing some fun self-care and finding it. Yeah. And then self-care starts to build you up so that you can have more gratitude for your husband. And that those first steps are really going to just start changing everything.
Wow. Has your husband ever like acknowledged you or said, like, he knows you're becoming a coach and all that? So has he ever said anything to you? Like,
yeah, he has. He said that he was really grateful for all the work I've done, and he just really notices how much different it is. And I can tell that with all the changes that he is much more relaxed because I'm not, obviously you have days where things go wrong or, just outside things, even outside of your relationship that happen. And then I'm not adding to it by all that fear boiling up and me reacting in fear, because I'm so much more able to just stay grounded and, this thing happened. I can trust him to take care of it, or I just know that the resources are going to come and we're going to get it figured out. And so me being more relaxed is lessening that pressure on him to have to be perfect or, not have a bad day or whatever.
yeah, that's awesome. What would you say if you go back in time and tell Kristen what you know now?
Yeah, I would go tell her to, like I said, I would go tell her to quit focusing on him because you can't change him, and just focus on yourself and start learning how to be an empowered wife. So, yeah. Like, you can throw away all those other books. All you need is The Empowered Wife. You could just dump all the rest in the trash.
You have a whole collection, is that right? A whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about your vision as you're becoming a coach. So what's that going to look like?
Yeah. Well, I'm just getting to the end of training. It's been such an amazing experience to meet with the group of women that I'm with in my section. Yeah, we get to meet once a week for learning something new every week. And as part of the coach training, we needed to have a volunteer client, and I actually ended up with 2 of them. 2 different people called me. Actually, it was a very weird thing, but so that was an amazing experience to be able to, receive that opportunity and grow in my skills to become a coach, and to see the ways they were transforming. It's just helped to, like, it just makes all the pain that I went through worth it, because now I understand them. And so when they bring that pain to me, it's like, I understand. So, sorry. Yeah. So I guess my vision is I would like to work with other Christian women in a way to combine your faith and these skills, because it can change everything.
Awesome, Kristen. Wow. It's so beautiful. It's really moving, very inspiring. And I just want to thank you for paying forward what you've learned and the transformation that you've had and sharing it with us so vulnerably. I also want to give you my Best Wife Award. Congratulations.
So
You richly deserve it.
thank you
For being so courageous and so committed, and for having an incredible story and transformation, and even passing it on to your daughter. And I just know you've touched a lot of lives today, telling this story so vulnerably. And congratulations.
Wow. Well, thank you, Laura. Yeah. I'm so grateful to have found you in your book. Yeah.
Me too, Kristen. I'm so glad we found each other. Like, we get to do this together, and it means so much to me. So, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, too. Thanks for having me on today.
For more of the proven secrets on how to make your marriage playful and passionate without his conscious effort, check this out.